You want to bring the picture, show me what you're talking about?
Yeah, I had to, Lily, it's right near the
عصام عم تخبرني قلت
the phonograph.
انه بالاول ما كان في لا
It's near the
تي في
phonograph,
ولا
the big
بشيء.
cardboard.
اللي يجوا من هاو صغار بالاسود والابيض.
Yeah.
That's when the TVs first came out in the late 40s, early 50s. And my father was just starting.
Oh.
My mother, Sarah, was born approximately 1895. My father, Abdullah Mkhoyil, was born in 1889. And they were married when my sister was 12 or 13. No, geez, I'm screwed up now. I'm talking about Genevieve.
That's okay. You could. I'm going to edit this. Don't worry about it. Just.
Okay.
Well, my mother was 14 when she married. That's why I got so many nieces and nephews. God bless them. And let's see now. We got to start with my mother coming here with my father, right?
When did they come here? Your father and mother?
They came here in 1905, I believe. Is that close enough, Lily? Yeah, they came here about 1905. Wait, my mother was 18. I can tell you in a minute. Let's see. No, that was different. 1910. Yeah. They came. My mother and father, Sarah and Abdullah, came here in 1910. They left their little girl, Genevieve, who was about 9 months old, with her grandmother, my mother's mother. Nazha was her name, in Lebanon. Nazha felt that my mother would not come back if she didn't leave the baby there with her. My mother and father came here to visit or to be with my mother's brother. He was going to get married. I can't recall what the reason was, but it was to visit him and to take, a few months off and come here to America. My mother left the baby with her grandmother, knowing that she was going to go back in a few months to the baby, to Genevieve. But en route to the United States, my mother got very, very ill, came down with diphtheria and another disease that I don't know, not like cholera, but some kind of a disease. And she was very ill on the ship that was bringing her, the North Star Line, which was coming to the United States. She was so ill they confined her after 2 weeks of being on the boat in the dispensary in first class, because they did not have a hospital for people who came in the hold of the ship along with the animals, because they didn't have enough money to travel first class. But when she got sick, they put her with the people who were living the high life. And they took care of her. Once the ship landed, she got very, very ill on the ship. They had to put a tube down her throat so she could breathe. And the diphtheria causes your throat muscles or whatever and your lungs to expand so that you can't breathe. So they had to cut a hole here in her neck and let her get oxygen that way. When they landed in Boston, they took her right to the Mass General Hospital, and she was admitted there and taken care of for 3 months of intensive care and 3 months of hospital care. When she came out of the hospital, she was very weak and only weighed about 80 pounds and very delicate. As a matter of fact, she didn't live too long. She was only in her late 30s, maybe 40 when she died. She was too young, but her body was never strong after that trip. And they came here and settled with her brother in Boston. They were going to return, but the doctor told my father that if she traveled back on the boat, she would never live, because she needed dry air, not the wetness of the ocean. So they settled here. And after they were here, just a little while, World War I broke out in Europe. And when World War I broke out, they didn't allow anybody to travel anymore on the ocean. You had to stay, it was forbidden. My mother wanted to bring her daughter over then, but the war stopped her from doing it, World War I. Now, during those 4 or 5 years of the war, my mother wrote letters to my sister and took care of her, had a relative of ours take care of her. And we found out later on that that relative was a lousy rat. How's that? I shouldn't say that, should I?
Say whatever you want to say.
Okay, he was a lousy rat. My mother would send money to take care of my sister, and he had her out in the fields taking care of the cows and the animals instead of living the life of a young child. Playing, she was miserable taking care of animals. And I understand that he didn't treat her at all well. She had a tough, tough life. So later on, after the war was over, and the peace treaty was signed in 1918, my father wanted to bring my sister here. He went and got her ticket to bring her here with the priest, Father John Saber. But when he went up to immigration, they told him that the law was passed in 1918, that same year after the war was over, that an alien could not bring in an alien. And because of that, my father was not able to bring my sister to this country. My sister was an alien now, and my father was an alien. So now my father had to go ahead and learn to become a citizen and speak English. Not like they do today. They let anybody in this country that can't speak English. In those days, they were very strict. And my father learned English and took out his first papers in 2 years after starting his course. The 5th year, they allowed him to try to become an accelerated, in other words, become a citizen. After the 5th year, you got your second papers, but you had to wait 2 years to bring in an alien. And so 7 years now have passed since he became, since 1918, now it's almost 1925. Right? 1918, 7 years, yeah. Now my sister Genevieve, how old is she? She was born
1909.
1909. Yeah, she was, that's right, because 1910 is when they came. So anyway, my father took out his papers, and they told him he could bring her here. The same priest, Father John Saber, was going back to Verhilda, and my father got my sister her ticket, and he was going to bring her with him. And when he got to the town, she was about 13, whatever, something like that. And they had married her off. She had married all of your children's grandfather, whatever, Genevieve's husband, Michael. We are all...
Okay.
Well, the end of the story, or maybe it's the beginning of the story, is my mother and father settled in Boston, raised a family. My brother George was my mother's firstborn. Not really, I'm sorry, I take that back. My mother had 3 miscarriages before George was born. I know it, but I'm just trying to account for the years. 1917, my brother George was born in November. 1920, my sister Helen was born. In 1921, Libby, that's me, I was born. And then in 1923, my youngest brother Mitchell was born. And we're a family of 4. And I'm the last one left. And it's the year...
Libby is very nice.
It's the year 1999.
Oh.
And what are we doing here in 1999? What just happened?
And right now, to show you how life moves on and how it multiplies, my sister Genevieve's son, George, married Muna. What was your maiden name, Muna? Ayub. And
No.
married Muna Ayub, and they gave birth to 5 boys, 3 girls, really 6 boys and 3 girls. One boy died very, very young, the firstborn, from quinsy sore throat. Yeah, he died. And she had 8 children, all of whom are living except one, George, who married Muna. And George gave birth to Jahed, Hedy, Joanna, Hawaida, Wasim.
Wasim is a small one.
Wasim was the small one. He's the youngest.
Okay.
And Wasim came here with my nephew George, my sister Genevieve's son, and his wife, and Hawaida, in 1978. And I picked them up at the airport, and they stayed with me for several months. My nephew George didn't want to stay here anymore because they would not give him papers to work. And he didn't want to be a burden. So he went to Canada with his family to Windsor, Ontario, where they lived for a while with Joanna, who had married the son of Thuma Seba and Damem. I don't know who the hell her name is. Anyway, my aunt.
تمام مرت توما شابة.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. And they lived in Canada for a very short while when they knew that Wasim was not going to be able to learn in school because of the war with the Israelis. He was not able to get any schooling, and they had pulled him out at a young age. And when he went to Canada, he couldn't read English or Arabic, either one.
Oh, you mean they brought them from Lebanon because of the war?
Oh, because of the war, they had to escape during the night.
Just starting.
Yeah, just starting. And of course, my nephew George, Genevieve's son, was affiliated with the secret police in Lebanon. And they were chasing him, so his life was in danger. So he took all the children and the family and went through the mountains and through the Lili, George,
I know.
and escaped that way and came to the United States. It was an unexpected visit. I was away at my sister's summer place, and my cousin Lila was with me, and we got a phone call that they were going to arrive at the airport at midnight. And we went to the airport, Lily and me, and brought them here to my house, and they stayed with me for a while. And from there, they went to Canada. But then where Wasim was having trouble with English, they figured I might be able to help him translate from the English to the Arabic and from the Arabic to the English. So he came here and stayed with me for a short visit, but never left. He's been here with me for 21 years. And he is now 30 years old, and he's a doctor of chiropractic. And everybody came here. My Azor Ibn Ikhti, my sister's youngest son, my sister Genevieve's youngest son, came here for the wedding from Lebanon. He brought his beautiful daughter, Katya, with him, and she is pretty. I want you to take a shot of her and put it in there. And his son Marwan, who is in California working, along with his cousin Isam, also came to the wedding.
Who was his son?
Isam Bikun Ibn Shafi'a, who was also a daughter of my sister Genevieve. My sister caused a lot of trouble. We have a big, beautiful, loving family. And Isam is here for the wedding too, representing his mother, my niece, Shafia. And Isam now has 3 children, 2 children, 1 boy, one girl, and two girls. I should have had that. He's going, Lily. He's going.
Yeah.
Oh, you better cut that out. I'll kill you. You're going like that. Family 1, 2, 3.
You gotta mention that he's taking the picture.
وعم بتخربطك ممكن تحكي.
And guess who's taking the picture? He saw him taking the video so that we can preserve this.
So we had a wedding here off.
Oh, yes, we sure did have a big wedding. And Isom will insert some of that wedding ceremony into this tape.
The wedding of who? We didn't say that.
Wasim got married to a lovely girl, Dawn Sullivan. Dawn Marie Sullivan. Dr. Dawn Marie Sullivan. Yeah, they did our film. Oh, God. I want you to know, even though my mother never saw my sister Genevieve again, she was always in her mind and in her heart. She did what she could to take care of her financially, but she always knew that she failed her daughter by not trying and getting these people who would not agree with her to bring her here. This broke my mother's heart. And al echer claim, I can't say it in English. You better teach your children Arabic so they'll know this. الآخر كلام قبل من أمي ماتت يا دلي يا بنتي جنفيف ما شفتها قبل الموت.
Oh.
She didn't care about us. We were here. She was worried about the one she didn't know how she was doing and what happened to her.
Tell them when she came visit you, Auntie.
We got that already. That was a sad, I swear to God, my cousin Louis, Rose's brother, held my mother's head up. He went and got my father because she was going to a funeral, a wake. Somebody died and she had gone to the wake. And she collapsed in the church hall. And she was dying. Louis got into his car and ran and got my father and brought him to the church. And the last words she said, she looked at my father when Louis was holding her head up, and she says, "Ya dilli ya binti Genevieve, man shefeta abun." And those were her last words. Now that's enough. Now children,
Snap out of it.
this is your heritage. I mean, there's so much more I could tell you, but I want you all to always love and care for those that belong to you. All you have in this whole life is family. And if you haven't got it, you have nothing. Because one could be up in the family and one can be down. And the one that's up will help bring the other one up. So that they'll all be equal. Nobody is better than the other one. I don't care what you have or what you do. Family is everything in this world, in this life. And that's all you have. I love you all. This is the end. Or maybe it's the beginning for all my grandnieces and grandchildren that belong to my mother. That's it, I quit.
هذا يا خالتي بالفيلم هذا بدنا نضل عاوزين.
Are you waving too?
خلي عني يوم.
بدنا نتذكروا على طول.
You know, when my mother came
حكيت
here,
كثير حلوة.
والله يا عم
I'm
you're
going
a
to just
genius.
say a few more words. When my mother and father came here, my Aunt Matilda came after, right, Mel?
With them.
She came with them, okay. Auntie Matilda, Ichbaye, came here also with my mother and father. And they lived together in little rooms down where it's Chinatown now in Boston. Visit Boston and look at that spot. It's on Edinburgh Street. They lived in one room. They had mattresses on the floors for beds. And that's how they lived together until they were able to make a life for themselves here. And my father's sister never left his side. She always visited him and cared for him. After my mother died, my Aunt Matilda was like another sister that just came in and filled the void of his life. My mother died very young. My father was very young. He never remarried. My father became a mother and a father to us. He washed our clothes. My brother Mitchell was just 12 years old when my mother died. Rabena, he brought us up. My oldest brother George became Director of Food and Drugs for the Commonwealth of Massachusetts, the first high post any Syrian, any Lebanese boy ever had in the state. And we basically made a good name for ourselves, all our families. My cousin Victor and his family, he was left a widower very young. That would be my Aunt Matilda's son. He led a good life. My cousin Lily lost her son at a very young age. That would be Matilda's oldest daughter, only daughter. But we all pull together and everybody loves everybody and we all do for each other. Nobody's better, nobody's worse. We're all the same. And always remember that. I don't care if you drive a car. Now this is the last thing that I want to show you. This is a picture of our family as it was in the United States. This is my sister Helen. This is me when I was 3 years old. This is my mother, my father, my brother George, and my baby brother Mitchell. My mother took a picture that we had that was very small with just us in it. And then my sister wrote my mother and sent her a picture of herself. So my mother went to a photographer and had this made, and she wanted to make sure that my sister's hand was touching her brother George. And they more or less superimposed or sketched this arm so it would touch my brother George's shoulder, so that they would be in touch like one. And this is our family. And the only one that's left is me, and that's why I'm making this video at the request of Isom, so that we would have a family history. I love you all. Be good. Don't ask me any more questions, I'll kill you.
Well, you keep continuing. What, we're not saying to talk. Look like a beautiful face.
Yeah, Habibi.
You need a drink or shot.
I need a shot of whiskey.
Again, say the whole thing.
Okay, this is a family picture that my mother had made up. Originally, we were just this amount of yards. Okay, originally the picture was just our family in the United States. My mother saw this picture and she knew that she wanted to include her lovely, lovely daughter, and the one she missed the most. She didn't miss us, she missed Genevieve. When Genevieve sent this picture, this was already made. My mother went to a photographer and he had put this picture in on the side. My sister's arm was down here, but my mother asked the photographer if he could bring the arm up so that she's touching her brother. That way she would be part of us. And this is how we have this picture. Now this is my sister Genevieve, my brother George, my brother Mitchell, the youngest, my father Abdullah, my mother Sarah, my sister Helene, and this is me, Libby. I hated that name, so I changed it to Libby. And sad to say, I'm the only survivor of all this family. But they've left many behind, with nieces, grandnieces, nephews. Oh God, we got so many, I don't know how many. And that's it. I quit. What do you want me to say?
No, حطي اسمك على الليبية. ايه. وعيب وفاق. Okay.
Emmy?
أمي.
Bye. No, I think he doesn't want me to say anything. Genevieve.
انه هاي الايد هان عندي.
Oh, my finger was wrong.
نو على الايد، الايد اللي حطوها كيف هان؟
Oh, honey.
كيف حطوها خالتي هاي؟
الفوتوغرافر painted it in. شال الايد كانت هني مثل هان.
I know.
وامسو بتكون ايدها خيي
غمرته.
ومثل هذا العائلة كلنا مع بعضنا.
Hey, man, do you remember me? Are you kidding?
Oh, yeah. You was, oh, you
You
were.
got your ear when she tortured
It's a beautiful face, beautiful face.
Well, I love so much. I love
That's my grandmother.
I know it, I know it. She was a good woman.
She was a great lady.
Matra. When I think of how her life could have been and how we could have all been
شيء
together.
محزن يا خالتي انه وقت كنت صغيرة تعذبت كثير.
That's what I mean. This is why.
هذا هو.
And that's why I said on the tape, I shouldn't have sworn at the man, but I don't give a damn.
ما حدا رباها مضبوط هيك وعاشت معذبة وهذا هو.
Yeah, لكن ما حدا طلع بيطلع.
بس الحمد لله بعدين طلع كثير منيح.
No, it was Mitchell. In Sitte, empty.
Yeah.
Was Mitchell died before Sitte Genevieve? I
Bef-
remember, and we didn't tell her.
Before, yeah, he died. Yeah, oh yeah, before about maybe just about 11 months.
Because we didn't tell
Lily,
my grandmother
yeah, about
that he
11
died.
months. No, she never knew. She
We
just
never knew. We kept it from her.
He's been dead 25 years.
she kept proving he was sick.
هي حلمت بالنوم
Oh,
وقالت لي انه خالك مشيل مدري ايش بو.
yeah.
بعد شوي بعثوا لنا خبر انه اوكي
مات
مات
كان
خالك.
49 سنة مات.
حرام.
And he left 6
هي
years.
زعلت كثير لانه هيك ما شفته.
Yeah. But he شافت ميشيل when اجت.
وقت اجت كان مشيل.
Oh yes.
طيب
ما مات ميشيل but
بعد ما راحت هيك حلمت هي.
يشوف من واحد بيعرف الثاني.
دريم.
بس من واحد بيعرف على الثاني
بصيروا
صعبة.
كثير.
I mean قبل من جينيفيف اجت هني كانت مثل بنام لعنها.
مضبوط.
امي تحكي علي وقالت from certain things my mother said. But after I met her and lived with her for 3 months, you know them now. مثل نحن بجمع بعض. هلا it's too
هلا
much.
انا وقت ما كنت شايفك كنت اقول عندي خالتي بحب شوفها بس هلا وقت جيت وقعدت على اسبوع هون كثير تعلقت فيك زياده.
شوف هاي كيف بيصير. صعب واحد to get to know everybody and love them. I mean, so wonderful. We're lucky. We got a
انا
good
بشرف
heritage.
في انه كنت
That's true. No, I'm 32. No, we really only are 32. Okay. Because I said,
Even say 30s then.
oh,
That's not in your 30s.
that's just 30.
مخرج.
Oh, you don't say I'm in my 70s, you
مخرج
say I'm 70?
بيطلع اخراج غير شكل.
I love everything he does. I love everything this boy does. He's really very family oriented, you know, Nielna. Really, we're lucky.
So Uncle
We're
Michelle,
lucky.
في
You know,
في عاطفة يا خالتي في عاطفة كثير بنحب بعضنا. يعني إذا الواحد بيلاقوا شوكة هيك بيصير شيء بنحب بعضنا كثير.
we're lucky.
عنا كثير.
خولي اعمل انه كانه عم تتسمع على خولتي
أوكي.
من دون ما تحكي. اوكي.
Oh, هلا عم تسمع شواربك مثل بيي كان عنده شوارب شايف؟ لكن this was trim.
No, I didn't see Michelle, did I?
بيي النهار مات he had the curliest hair.
Very thin.
كان يعطوا nickname popcorn. بتعرفوا popcorn بتاعي؟ كيف بينتعج بيي شعره هيك كان.
of the sister.
كان يعطوا له popcorn. هذه nickname. And
John is her second marriage, eh?
وخالي جورج ما بيشبهوا كان
ايه خيي جورج كتير مثل جينيفيف حياته. هيليني كانت كتير مثل امي. انا كنت مثل بيي. Yeah, a lot like my father. وميشيل كنا نعيط له بوزايد.
بوزايد
كان اسود. You know مثل جورج ابن ايدي. You know سمر. اسمر. امي كانت سمرة. جنفيف كانت لايت
ايه
لايت سكين.
لا انا حمضي كده.
باي كان أبرص، ما كان في يمشي برا بلا قميص بيحرق.
والله.
ايه أبرص.
شارع هذا عزام الشارع كونغرس.
كونغرس؟
كونغرس.
كونغرس. وأنا كنت أخولي هلا.
انا ببوسطي. شارع حلو كثير. احلى شارع بكل بوسطي.
رحت أنا أقطع نشوف هناك.
منظر حلو كثير يا عزام. يعمل مطعم هون يا عزام. ايش رايك يا عزام؟ بدي اعمل مطعم هون. والله مطعم بيطلع حلو. مطاولة وقعدة. حد هالمويه.
ذاك حلوين
اوه كثير حلو.
مشي.
ترتاح بيه هناك. بعد نص ساعة بدنا نطير يمكن ها؟
نص ساعة بقى نترك على سان فرانسيسكو.
اوكي.
ايه روح.
ايوه. بيجتمعوا بالنواب هون؟
لا شو بعرفني بيعملوا حليب انا اخوي.
ميلك ستريت.
ميلك ستريت وكونغرس ستريت. الكونغرس النواب والملك الحليب.
We're done?
So tell us, Bostonian man,
What's up?
this is a nice city you have here.
I know. You're
Okay.
missing a lot.
And we like you too, you're a nice person. And we thank you for the breakfast.
No problem.
Okay, you're not gonna let us forget it for the rest of our lives, huh?
I won't. I won't. That's gonna be in the. It's gonna be on the internet every day.
Yeah, this is Milk and Congress Street. أنا بيعملوا الحليب.
Cellular phones can interfere with aircraft systems and therefore they may not be used on board the aircraft at any time, including at the gate. All electronic devices must be turned off and put away at the...
Hi, Katya.
يا حبيبي كيسك
Katrina had done here. Just came back from Boston.